used to get mad, used to say that she was gone back to Memphis someday. That's how I got to Memphis. How I got to Memphis. Oh, and I haven't eaten a bite. I haven't slept for 3 days or nights. And that's how I got to Memphis. How I got to Memphis. Seen her, you tell me you were my friend. I gotta find her and find out the trouble she's in. Oh, and thank you for your precious time. Forgive me if I start to cry. It's how I got to Memphis. How I got to Memphis. That's how I got to Memphis. How I got to Memphis. Yeah, it's how I got to Memphis. Yeah, it's how I got to Memphis.
As Part 1 ended, Riverside singer harp player Rod Piazza had just formed the Chicago Flying Saucer Band and self-released an album on his own label. For most of 1979, Rod and his various band configurations were semi-regulars, along with the Hollywood Fats Band, on the Monday Blues Night at the Squeeze Club in downtown Riverside. George Harmonica Smith would occasionally sit in with the band. As the 1970s transitioned to the 1980s, Rod Piazza changed his group's name to the Mighty Flyers. At this time, the band consisted of Bill Stuvey on stand-up bass, Rod on harmonica and vocals, Miss Honey Alexander on keyboards, Junior Watson on guitar, and Bill Swartz on drums. Rod still kept Riverside as his home. The band had a semi-regular residency at the old Carlos O'Brien's Mexican restaurant and pub in the Riverside Plaza. The reviews for the band's concerts were generally positive, and they drew a growing and devoted fan base. The 1980s were a productive time for the band's music. The Mighty Flyers released no less than 4 recordings, and Rod put out 2 solo efforts. After being a couple for over a decade, Rod and Honey were married in 1989. It was a natural progression of their growing musical and personal partnership. In the 1990s, the band became known as Rod Piazza and the Mighty Flyers. The first 2 CDs of the decade were on the Black Top label, which had better distribution than any of their previous releases. 2 live CDs were released, one recorded at B.B. King's Blues Club in Memphis, and one vintage recording from 1975. The live at B.B. King's Blues Club release won the 1994 National Association of Independent Record Distributors Award for Album of the Year. The W.C. Handy Awards, today known as the Blues Music Awards, have been given out since 1980. They are presented by the Blues Foundation, a non-profit organization set up to foster blues heritage. The award was named after W.C. Handy, who was a composer-musician who many consider to be the father of the blues. In 1998, Piazza was the W.C. Handy Award winner for Blues Instrumentalist Harmonica. In 1999 and 2000, Rod Piazza and the Mighty Flyers were W.C. Handy Award winners for Best Blues Band. In 2001, the Riverside Downtown Partnership staged a series of summer concerts at the courthouse on the grounds of the historic Riverside County Courthouse. On August 2, 2001, Rod Piazza and the Mighty Flyers performed as one of the bands selected to make a hometown appearance. Earlier in the concert series, blues legend Etta James appeared. By that time, she was living locally in Woodcrest. It was a memorable hometown appearance for Rod and the Mighty Flyers. When performing his traditional show-stopping harmonica solo at a club date, Piazza usually hops from table to table to get up close and personal with the audience. At the courthouse, he made use of the grounds in front of the entrance. He scampered up the courthouse steps and turned it into a makeshift stage as the spotlight operator struggled to keep up with him. In the first 2 decades of the 2000s, the band maintained a steady stream of music releases and touring. They released CD albums on a number of labels such as Tone Cool, Blind Pig, Big Mo, and Delta Groove. In 2015, Rod was interviewed in the October issue of Blues Blast magazine. About life on the road, Rod said, "It was pretty great in the 1990s with that big blues explosion. At that time, there were 13 clubs that we could play anytime for good money. Now there is 1 club." Around 2003, as we were booking tours, we started to notice that the pickup gigs that we used to get on Tuesday or Wednesday nights weren't an option. That made it harder to connect the dots for a tour without spending money for hotel rooms for me and the band on off nights. At that time, I had it where we worked every night on the road for 3 weeks straight, so we became the first group to do flyouts. No more driving the van around for 5 tours, plus a trip to Europe every year. I still have friends out there driving around in the van trying to make it. You're doing something you love, and you want to keep doing it. At my age, I still love to play, but I've spent too many hours driving. I'm not going to drive across the states, putting 50,000 miles on my body and my car. We lost a lot of business when I decided we were done on the road. A festival could get 3 bands that are out there still driving the states for what it cost to fly 5 musicians in from California, pay us what we wanted, put up the back line, plus pay for hotel rooms and ground transportation. That set our price pretty high, so we missed out on quite a few festivals from the old days. In Part 3, Rod and the Mighty Flyers continue their blues odyssey as Rod approaches 60 years as a performing musician.
should have said there's a moon out there, but my world's darker than ever. Oh, Katrina, have mercy on me. You're the only girl that I ever loved. You ruined me. Yeah, you ruined me. They say love comes, what's inside. They never saw you through my love shine. You run me, girl, you run me, yeah, you run me.
You know, at Pappy and Harriet's, when I talked to some of the friends of the Lo-Fi Lounge, I was talking to Robin and Brett, and they were saying that in talking live to the camera, they would always look behind me and see what books I had on this particular shelf, or it's kind of a little multimedia area. In the original Lo-Fi Lounge, we used to have it up against my walls of albums, but you know, so I thought a good segment would be just to grab 3 things off of this shelf and tell you what they're about. So well, here you go. One of the most haunting people, one of the greatest American writers, Shirley Jackson, was the world's most disturbing short story, The Lottery. Also wrote the spookiest ghost story of all time, The Haunting of Hill House. Are both in this, with some other equally disturbing short stories. The Haunting of Hill House also made into that great 1963-64 film, black and white film by Robert Wise. Really, that book and movie really follow the same spooky path. During Halloween season, I always keep it close. A lot of my music, Blu-ray stuff is here, and The Wrecking Crew. Really good documentary about this band in LA that was the backup to every music of the 60s. You know, if you like the Beach Boys, you like The Wrecking Crew. And just individual portraits of, you know, Carol Kay on bass, Leon Russell playing piano, or Glenn Campbell as, you know, just as master instrumentalists who were not just good at their instruments, but injected these songs with a special power and made them singles that just, you know, jumped off the vinyl. So if you wanted, you know, a beautiful celebration of music of the 60s and see the people who really are contributors behind it, The Wrecking Crew is a wonderful example. Everyone should know about Mystery Train. This is probably my fifth version of Greil Marcus's seminal study examination of American popular music, and it was his first venture into this. He early had done editing and compiled articles, but how it follows from Harmonica Frank through Elvis, Sly Stone and Randy Newman and the band, you get this wash of what American music was going to be and what the seeds of this music are. You know, some very popular things and some pieces that, some works that just kind of filter through our musical psyche that we've lost track of, maybe. And maybe that's why it's the mystery of Mystery Train. If you read things later on by Greel, he gets more complex and abstract. This still has the heart of how he writes, but it also is maybe more accessible than some of his later work, although I like everything he does. But Mystery Train is from the shelf. We'll do this again.
That was manic. I love that. We're done.
Tony Fate. I met him. He was outside of my nightclub, The Beat, leaning on the wall, wearing his leather jacket, looking all punk. Says, "Come in, you know, you're scaring the crowd." But he was such a great songwriter from the very beginning, and he and I were able to collaborate for some songs that end up on Early Dangers recordings, like songs like Front Door. He wrote this song called Caravan. It's one of my favorite songs, and it kind of tells how Tony sees the world.
Here comes the caravan, right to your door. Can you hear the bell ringing once more? Don't need no money, you don't live too far, just hop on board. Right where you are, here comes the caravan. Here comes the caravan for you, for you. A peaceful mind is a mighty sword. Here comes the caravan without saying a word. Don't need no money, you don't live too far, just hop on board. Right where you are, here comes the caravan. Here comes the caravan for you, baby, for you. Yeah, 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 yeah. A train without chains, a train of dreams, train of hope and memories, glory days and gentle rain with truth you never throw away. Love is the reason, love is the call. Love has the power, tear down a wall. Don't need no money, you don't live too far, just hop on